everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate it. I know we have a lot of options, and I'm just one little minnow in a huge sea. Today is a very important day for our channel. It marks our first episode of War Stories.
Thank you for joining us. Today we'll see how World War II began, including America's decision to send troops to Europe.
In Toul, France, of spies Joseph Wind and Stephen Cortez. We're also going to embed ourselves with the 83rd Infantry Division and work our way across Europe to give us an idea of what the action on the ground was like during this time, which would be like September, October, November, December 1944. A lot of action going on in Europe. We're going to visit a couple battles, see some bombing, see some executions. All of this archive footage was originally in black and white. I colorized it using a free Google Colabs program called Deodify. There's another option called Pixbone, which is a software application. I really like colorizing the old footage. And you are the first group to see most of this footage in color for the first time. So I hope you enjoy seeing this old black and white footage colorized. You will get to see one video where it's mixed, where you can actually see what it looks like in black and white and in color.
Durch die gesäuberte Ortschaft geht es weiter, Belgrad entgegen. In dem Morast der völlig verwahrlosten Straßen vollbringen unsere Panzerkampfwagen.
Having slashed through Luxembourg, Belgium and Holland, 5 German armies fanned out across France. Treachery and incompetence had doomed the nation that only a decade ago had been leader of Europe. Now the campaign mounted in fury as France crumbled. And now the Nazis entered Paris. This had been the dream of the Kaiser in the last war. Hitler achieved it. And the Maginot Line was still there. The Nazis had merely outflanked it. Now they tried direct attack, and the Maginot Line fell. The First World War had ended officially in this railroad car, where Marshal Foch had received the delegates of the vanquished Germans. Hitler commandeered the car for what he believed was the end of the Second World War. Hitler
He
was happy.
thought this was the end of World War II here, leaving this train car. seeing Hitler happy kind of makes me want to bomb it. Being so proud of taking France. Homie about dances a jig though, he's so happy.
Invaded Denmark and Norway. Denmark was powerless to resist.
French citizens are showing their support for the Germans by doing this. These videos, these are people that are French civilians kicking, tripping, spitting, and hitting Allied prisoners of war getting marched down the streets of Paris by the Germans. It's crazy to think that these are the French supporting the Nazis against their own people who are trying to fight for freedom. And there's probably more Allied forces mixed in there than just the French. I had always wondered if there was support in America for Hitler and the Nazis like there was in some of these other countries that got occupied.
Into this free debate trooped the agents of the aggressors, for they too were permitted to speak in our democracy. They wore Hitler's uniforms, but they wrapped themselves in the American flag. They preached the doctrine of racial and class hatred, for Hitler had said America could be conquered from within and fall as an overripe plum to the Nazi master race.
Jewish Moscow directed domination.
We let them speak. When occasionally a lone outraged dissenter wanted to air his opposition, we provided police to preserve order. This was Maddison Square Garden in New York City, and not Berlin nor Nuremberg. Later, the speaker was arrested. It was because he had filched money from his deluded followers, and he was sent to Sing Sing to brood upon the strange ways of democracy. Hitler invaded Holland and Belgium. This pictorial record you are watching was made by Nazi cameramen at the order of Dr. Goebbels, the German propaganda minister. He showed this Wagnerian symphony of devastation to neutral nations in Europe and South America to frighten them into surrender. You will observe that here in Holland, for example, not one German soldier is killed or wounded or even suffers a fractured ankle in an avalanche of destruction. Using tanks, dive bombers, light guns, but Nazi machine broke the back of Dutch resistance in 4 days. To engulf the Belgians and drive the Anglo-French army into the sea. This was the Belgian cathedral city of Louvain, scarred in the First World War and restored anew. And again it fell victim to the invasion.
Hitler got greedy, the Japanese attacked the United States, it was the beginning of the end.
Anti-aircraft guns swung into place to battle Luftwaffe advance units. Strike on land, with tanks against horses. Giant guns against sabers and rifles. Choose your time carefully.
Thank you all for joining us today for Part 1. In Part 2 we'll be embedded with the 83rd Infantry Division as they fight their way across Europe. If you like these types of colorized videos and want to support the channel, please subscribe or join our Patreon page.